The swamp air was heavy with heat and the scent of rot. Cicadas shrilled like 1,000 tiny alarms, and the reeds swayed under the weight of invisible things moving in the murky water. It was a place where every ripple meant danger, and silence could be deadlier than sound. At the heart of this wilderness, a German shepherd named Rex bounded alongside his handler, a young firefighter named Lucas Hardy. Rex wasn't just a pet, he was a search and rescue dog, loyal, fearless, and trained to dive headfirst into peril if it meant saving a life. The bond between them had been forged through flames and rubble, in collapsed buildings and storm-battered towns. But neither Lucas nor Rex had ever faced what waited for them that day. The mission had seemed simple: join a volunteer team of first responders to deliver supplies to a remote riverside village cut off by recent floods. The rains had swollen the swamp, pushing creatures of the deep into unfamiliar territories. Locals whispered warnings of the Ancient One, a monstrous crocodile that had lived longer than anyone could remember, big enough to tip boats and crush men like twigs. Most laughed it off as folklore. Lucas had laughed too, until the water stirred. The team was unloading crates from a flat-bottomed skiff when Rex stiffened, ears pricked, growling at the rippling surface. Lucas followed his gaze. At first, it looked like a drifting log, dark and massive. Then the log blinked. Twin yellow eyes glowed from the water's edge. "Holy hell," muttered Jackson Price, the team leader, a grizzled ex-Marine. His hand went instinctively to the machete at his hip. "That ain't no log." The crocodile surged forward, water exploding around it. It wasn't just big. It was colossal, over 20 feet of scaled muscle, with a head broader than a man's chest and teeth like ivory daggers. The ground trembled as it hauled its bulk from the water, tail thrashing like a living battering ram. "Move! Everyone move!" Jackson barked. Crates crashed into the mud as men scrambled. The monster lunged, and in the chaos, Rex bolted toward the threat. He didn't hesitate. He never did. "No, Rex!" Lucas shouted, his throat tearing with panic. The shepherd had seen the danger and did what he always did: place himself between it and his people. He barked, teeth bared, a soldier in fur facing an ancient reptilian warlord. The crocodile swung its massive head, jaws snapping with a crack like gunfire. Rex darted aside, agile, but the beast was faster than any animal had a right to be. It lunged again, and this time its jaws closed inches from Rex's tail. The shepherd yelped but spun back to keep barking, buying precious seconds for the humans. Lucas's vision tunneled. Nothing mattered but Rex. His teammates yelled, but he didn't hear them. He grabbed the flare gun from the skiff, loaded a cartridge, and fired at the monster's head. The flare burst in a blinding red glare, bouncing off its armored skull. The crocodile hissed, momentarily disoriented, but it only seemed to enrage the beast further. "Cover me!" Lucas screamed, sprinting toward Rex. Jackson cursed but followed, machete in hand. Behind them, the rest of the team grabbed whatever they could: oars, knives, even wooden planks. They weren't going to let one of their own, or the loyal dog who'd saved countless lives, be taken. Rex darted in a wide arc, drawing the crocodile's focus away from Lucas. But the ground turned treacherous. Mud sucked at paws, reeds tangled legs, and the monster knew its terrain. It whipped its tail, striking Rex with terrifying force. The shepherd yelped as he was thrown into the shallows, stunned. The crocodile roared, or something close to it, charging toward its fallen prey. Lucas threw himself between them, heart hammering, flare gun raised like a useless toy. The reptile's mouth opened, cavernous, every tooth gleaming. Lucas thought he saw death reflected in those yellow eyes. And then Jackson was there, slamming the machete down on the beast's snout. Steel rang against bone. The crocodile recoiled, shaking its head violently, tossing Jackson like a ragdoll. He landed hard in the mud, groaning. "Jackson!" Lucas shouted, torn between his commander and his dog. But Rex made the choice for him. Despite his bruises, the shepherd staggered back up, lips curled, and lunged at the crocodile's flank. His teeth sank into the softer skin near its leg. The monster bellowed, thrashing, trying to shake him loose. "No, Rex, let go," Lucas screamed. The dog didn't listen. He never did when it came to protecting his people. Lucas knew what would happen next, a death roll. If the crocodile twisted with Rex locked on, the dog would be ripped apart. In desperation, Lucas snatched a signal flare from his vest, ignited it, and jammed the burning stick into the crocodile's eye. The swamp erupted with the beast's scream. It reared back, head thrashing, and Rex tumbled free, rolling across the mud. Lucas grabbed his dog, hauling him into his arms as the crocodile slammed back into the water, waves crashing against the bank. But it wasn't gone. No, the monster lingered, circling, a shadow beneath the surface. "We can't outrun it in the boat," Jackson groaned, clutching his side as he staggered up. "It'll tip us before we get 10 feet. Lucas's chest heaved. Rex trembled in his arms, blood matting his fur. His breathing was shallow but steady. Lucas stroked his head, whispering, "Hang on, buddy. Just hang on." The rest of the team regrouped, battered but alive. Fear hung thick in the air. They had seen war, fire, and storms, but nothing like this. And yet, when their eyes met, there was no talk of retreat. "Heroes aren't made in safety," Jackson said through clenched teeth. "They're made when something bigger than you says you can't win, and you fight anyway." They had a choice: leave Rex and the villagers to whatever fate awaited in the swamp, or stand their ground. There was never really a choice. They armed themselves with everything they had: machetes, sharpened poles, even jury-rigged spears from broken oars. Lucas wrapped Rex in a tarp to keep him safe behind the skiff, praying the dog would live long enough to see them win. The water went still. Too still. "Here it comes," Jackson muttered. The crocodile exploded from the shallows, a mountain of muscle and rage. This time, they didn't scatter. They met it head-on. Steel bit into scale, poles jabbed into its mouth, flares hissed against its hide. The swamp became a war zone of mud and firelight, of shouts and roars. The crocodile thrashed, tail smashing trees, jaws snapping shut inches from men's faces. One wrong step and anyone could be crushed. But they fought as one, each covering the other. Heroes not by choice but by necessity. Lucas hurled another flare into its open mouth, searing the soft flesh inside. The monster convulsed, jaws slamming shut with a deafening crack. Jackson hacked at its side with primal fury. The others drove poles into its eyes and gills, desperate to find weakness in the armored giant. At last, with a guttural groan, the crocodile recoiled. Blood and fire marked its once invincible hide. It turned, retreating into the depths, its massive tail thrashing a final warning. Then it was gone, swallowed by the swamp's murk. Silence fell. The men collapsed, heaving, their bodies streaked with mud, sweat, and blood that wasn't all their own. They didn't cheer. They didn't shout victory. They simply breathed, alive against the odds. Lucas crawled back to Rex, who whimpered softly as his handler knelt beside him. Tears blurred Lucas's vision. "You're safe now, boy. You're safe." Rex licked his hand, weak but unbroken. They carried him back onto the skiff, their battered bodies moving as one. The supplies were forgotten. The only cargo that mattered now was the shepherd who had stood against a monster. Hours later, as they made camp far from the swamp's edge, Lucas sat with Rex curled at his side, the dogs breathing steady as he slept. The firelight painted their faces in gold, but shadows loomed beyond, reminding them the swamp was never truly tamed. Jackson limped over, lowering himself onto a log beside Lucas. His voice was rough, but steady. "That dog's got more guts than most men I've served with. He didn't think twice about staring down death to save us." Lucas smiled faintly, stroking Rex's fur. "He's fearless. Always has been. But today," he swallowed hard, eyes wet. "Today, we were the ones who had to be fearless for him." Jackson nodded, looking out into the darkness. "And we were. That's what makes us heroes." The night pressed in, alive with the whispers of the swamp. Somewhere out there, the giant crocodile still lived, licking its wounds, biding its time. Maybe it would come again. Maybe it wouldn't. But for now, around that fire, the heroes and their loyal shepherd rested, knowing they had faced something larger than life, and won. Not because they were stronger. Not because they were braver. But because they refused to let fear decide who lived and who died. And in the quiet, with Rex's head resting against his knee, Lucas knew one truth with absolute certainty: fearless heroes aren't born. They're made in the moments when you stand between darkness and the ones you love, no matter the cost.